6. Hold up. Remember when you were a kid and everyone around you had some kind of spooky legend surrounding a haunted house? All the dares for you to spend the night stuck in an abandoned house, supposedly brimming with everyone's worst nightmares incarnate. Well, this guy over on Blessed Barter's TV decided to take those dares well into adulthood. And he didn't just stay overnight. He stayed for a whole week. He did a full 7 days shacked up with the ghoulies and ghosties of an old fabled building. And it's not going to be a surprise to you that he had an absolutely hair-raising terrible time. To make things even worse, somehow there's a creepy old doll involved, just watching from the kitchen table.
A ver si enfoca esto. Ahí está.
According to him, whatever entity lurks inside the house responds aggressively, and he thinks that Hellspawn, doll, has something to do with it. Doesn't help that whenever he points the camera at the doll, it struggles to focus. But regardless, he gets on with his 6th day in the house, trying all sorts of methods to make contact. But it turns out that he didn't even need to bother with all of that, because all hell broke loose without any equipment needed.
Lo prometo. Esto me está sobrepasando, tío. ¡Eh! ¡Otra vez no puede ser! Dios mío, ¿qué cojones está ocurriendo, por Dios? Por Dios bendito de mi alma. Detectó. Dios mío.
First of all, who or what opened that cupboard door? There's nowhere for anyone to hide in there, in the cupboard or the actual room for that matter. It's so small. And don't even get me started on the doll. There's no shadows cast on or around the table, or the porcelain nightmare, so what the hell happened? How did it move like that, around in almost a perfect semicircle? When he sat down and tried to collect his thoughts after all of that mess, he realised that the whole thing might be more serious than he first thought.
Voy a intentar hacer otra vez. ¡Dios mío! ¡Dios mío de mi alma!
So this entity doesn't take kindly to people taking a moment to themselves. Noted. After a while, this guy starts to lose his grip on reality, but the 4 walls weren't finished with him yet.
No puedo más, tío.
how the hell did that happen? He springs up to investigate and ends up drawn back to the doll. He resorts to performing a basic cleansing ritual on it, covering it in holy water. But that was when his nightmare got a whole lot worse.
Dios mío. ¿Estás ahí? ¡Ay! ¡Hostia! ¡Hostia, hostia! ¡Hostia! Dios mío, lo que acaba de pasarme, Dios mío.
As if it wasn't already bad enough, while he's trying to recover from that lethal throw, this is what the spirit box comes out with.
No me fastidie. No me fastidie, por Dios. Dios mío. Está ahí. Lo acabo de escuchar. Me lo ha dicho.
The entity has to be messing with him. And the worst part? He stays there for a whole other day. It's not often that someone is able to catch a possible paranormal attack on camera. So God knows what happened after that. If you want to watch the full series of this guy sauntering around a haunted house, head on over to Blessed Bastard TV on YouTube. Number 5. Feng Shui. Tiptoeing through an old abandoned mansion isn't normally the pastime you think of killing some owls with, but the guys on Kaka Sobri Natural can't get enough of this stuff. As you might be able to imagine, the results are nothing short of a paranormal punch in the face. The first thing to have them reaching for their spare pants was this.
Mas eu acho que nós tínhamos que pegar e tentar já, tipo, fazer, sabe, o Spirit Box pra nós sair logo daqui. Olha aquilo, mano! Ô, cara! Ah, não, cara! Ah, não, cara! Calma, Besouro! Fogão, cara! Nossa, abriu a portinha!
You might already be thinking of strings, but they get the camera up real close and personal to the door.
Cara, eu tô com medo. Não é bicho, não tem nada. Nossa, você viu que socou, tipo, puxou a portinha assim?
Não tem explicação, cara.
Porra, agora eu fiquei de cara, mano.
Faça
Olha a portinha.
Cara.
Nossa, ele abriu com força. Essa aqui abriu com força.
Cara, tava aí, avisado, mexendo no fogão. Você viu, cara?
Cara, isso foi estranho. Uau, muito poltergeist. Eu tô impressionado. Ó, não tem como abrir. Ó, nem assim, ó. Ó.
So starting off strong with a pretty unexplainable event, there's obviously no strings on the handle and nothing inside. There also doesn't seem to be any cuts we can spot in the video, so the activity can only get better from here. But that wasn't the only household object that the supposed spirit wasn't fancying the vibe of. In the previous episode they spent in the room, this happened.
Você viu isso? Você viu isso, Besouro? Cara, mexeu, a cadeira balançou. Balançou sozinho. Olha aqui, ó. Ó. Não, eu tô filmando aqui de perto, galera. Olha isso aqui, gente.
There isn't anywhere for anyone to hide off camera to shake the chair. They've given us so many full circle views of that room that we'd seen them, or their shadows somehow. They then decided that the only way to get a real lay of the land was to bust out the spirit box and trying to establish contact with whatever was there. And it didn't take very long before someone or something made itself heard.
Parecia que tá Cara, parecia cavalo assim, cara.
Como que vai andar, homem, num tornito? Não aguenta. Ó, escutou? Quem são falou?
Nossa senhora.
Já tá perguntando quem é nós, cara. Escutou.
It instantly asks who they are, which definitely isn't petrifying at all. They go on to explain who they are and why they're there, but the real juicy bits of this conversation happen when the guys begin to unfurl the spirit's tragic history.
Peguei fogo, mano. Escutou isso?
Cara, que sinistro.
Peguei fogo? Como assim? Morri assim.
Discovering that the spirit they were bothering possibly passed over in one of the most painful ways possible, they both began to unravel. But before they started shaking in their boots too much, they were able to get a name and a bit more context.
Ana. Falou o nome dela, Ana. Ô, Ana, vamos ajudar você, Ana, mas você tem que se ajudar também. Você sabe que sozinho a gente não consegue fazer nada. Se você tá aqui ainda vivendo na casa, porque você apareceu no nosso aparelho perto do fogão, você apareceu lá perto da pia. A gente só quer entender por que você não saiu daqui ainda.
Cara, eu não sabia.
Minha casa. Acabou de falar. Minha casa. Ela tá pegada na casa ainda. Não quero sair. Agora nós temos um problema. Ela não quer sair, meu amigo. Sabia disso. Pelo tamanho da maldição que ela tá fazendo, ela não ia querer sair mesmo.
So with a name, cause of death, and the knowledge that she refuses to leave what she believes to be her own home, the pair began to realise just how dire the situation actually is and was. While still quizzing the spirit, the house reminds them that it's also capable of physical activity.
Caramba. Falou, sumiu, cara. Tá, ele sumiu, isso? Mas e por que? Como assim que ele sumiu? Ô, cara, você viu isso, besouro?
Cara,
Ô, cara,
nossa senhora.
você viu que derrubou um litro? Besouro, caiu o litro do nada. Caiu o litro de cima da pia, você viu?
Cara, eu vi.
Ô, cara, que sinistro, mano.
This was enough to convince the pair that perhaps they didn't need to get to the bottom of the whole story. They ran outside to say a quick prayer and hot-footed it out of there, terrified that they might come to the woman's same grisly end.
Faz aqui, vamos fazer oração aqui fora. Fecha aí, meu. Fecha.
Number 4. Poseidon's Worst. While drinking in the sights from the seashore, this woman felt as though it couldn't get any better than sun, sea, and sand. That was until she clocked something so odd it defied gravity. Check it out. The video only shows a glimmer of this supposed creature, but she swears she clearly saw that it was some kind of strange underwater beast. The comments all attempt to give a logical explanation, ranging from talk of big waves, whales, sharks, or even a group of starlings. But this woman is not the only person to see something strange lurking in the water. This couple were enjoying the blanket of twilight before they saw something unexplainable.
¿Qué es eso? Mira, ahí están caminando sobre el agua. ¿Qué fue?
¿Qué es eso?
¿O qué es eso? ¿Un pingüino o un delfín?
No,
¿Qué es eso?
Parece una persona que estuviera caminando.
Sí, Yara, ¿qué es eso?
O será un globo que se lo está llevando en la
¿Crees?
el aire. No, pero es que parece un brazo.
Parece que, ajá, como si tuviera... ¿Qué es eso?
It could just be someone on a surfboard really far out. But why does the figure look like it's walking on top of the waves? It looks as though the legs are moving one after the other across the sea. It didn't come any closer and vanished into the horizon. Looks like Poseidon does have some hidden creatures for us after all. Number 3. The Sanatorium. The Ninette Sanatorium was opened in 1909, offering rooms and care to those suffering with tuberculosis. At one point in history, it was one of the largest sanatoriums in the province. Many ill people walked the halls throughout their time there, but eventually, when medicine advanced, the place wasn't needed anymore and closed in 1972. Afterwards, it functioned as a training centre for those with learning difficulties. But as with anything, all good things must come to an end, and the property is now basically vacant. Aside from some lingering entities according to a lot of ghost hunters who have had the Ninette Sanatorium on their bucket list, Paranormies was one of these very ghost hunters. Hearing about all the stories pouring out of the doors, he set up his equipment and started searching for signs of paranormal activity. A few of his cameras picked up on something strange.
Touch it or make it go off. If you go in front of it, it'll make a noise.
As if the snuffling, shuffling, and glitching weren't terrifying enough, things started to get a bit more physical.
Oh my god.
When he bursts out to see who's there, he of course sees nothing, but that might be because it then all started up again, right behind him.
Knocking at this. Oh my god. Harry, is that you? I heard another voice in the spirit box too.
There's obviously no one else with him, so how did that chair get knocked over? The freezer door seems to be the poltergeist's favourite place to start a ruckus, because the same thing happens again a few moments later, but this time a different item was messed with.
I keep hearing things at this door. No way. Why did you have to go and break that?
The most believable part of this is that the light actually broke. The kind of equipment he's working with isn't exactly cheap. Would he really deliberately break his own property for a small moment in his video? It doesn't stop there, however, because as he becomes increasingly paranoid while pacing the upstairs, this happened on one of his cameras.
Hello? Where did I put my bag? No way. Oh my god.
How the hell did that happen? The glitching is already scary, but why is it levitating? It was lifted by only one ankle, so it's plausible that it could be a string tied to the doll, but who would be pulling it? After this, the physical manifestation only gets worse. While trapezing through the corridors, he looked out one of the windows and sees this.
It would have fell forward like that. Oh my god, that was the geese. That scared the shit out of me. No way.
It's pretty blurred, the window is dirty, it's dark and he's shaking like a leaf. But there is definitely something or someone there. Understandably shaken, he returns to the main part of the building, hearing the doors flying on almost every level, which is when he catches the most compelling piece of evidence yet. But unfortunately, it's been blurred out due to something even more terrifying than poltergeist or floating dolls. Paranormies left a pinned comment under the video, explaining that underneath the blur, the video shows a clear outline of a man's figure in the nearby window. Initially, he thought it was the spirit of the old owner, as people had reported seeing a man at the window on investigations before, but the police got involved and asked him to blur the footage, as there was a high possibility that it wasn't a ghost, but a real person breaking and entering. Due to legalities surrounding investigations and court cases, he was asked to remove the segment from the video, and considering it is still blurred 2 years later, we will assume the case is still ongoing. Do you think this was a squatter trying to scare someone away from his crash pad, or something more spiritual? Number 2. Pulling threads. While seemingly just trying to kick back and relax after a long day, these two women would have never thought there would be a third party trying to jump in on their hangouts. But that third party wasn't a familiar face. In fact, it wasn't a face at all. What the hell happened there? It does look like the woman in pink pushed the sewing table when she got up, but it had already started to move when she was barely resting on it. But if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you might not be shaking in your boots after this one. Look really closely at the front of the table, just under the bottom of the wheel, where the leg meets in the middle. There's a pretty clear outline of some kind of string there. You can see it flashing on the floor, for God's sake. Now, you might be wondering, if this video is so obviously fake, why would we put it into this video? Here's the thing, the clip was sent to us specifically via email, and they sent it with no name using a Proton mail. Already a bit creepy. They asked us in the email to take a look at this one, because they were convinced that it is real. It could genuinely be someone not noticing the red flags throughout the video, but it seems so obvious. After we saw the fishing wire or string on the table, we grew suspicious. Could it be a debunker trying to trick us? Perhaps. Did you notice the string on your first watch? Or did you need a bit of help? Let us know down below. Number 1. Say your prayers. Praying is where the religious find their comfort, protection, you name it. But for this guy, it didn't quite offer that safety blanket he needed. He absolutely cleared those chairs in one fell swoop. Can you blame him as well? There doesn't seem to be any signs of strings at all here. And how would all of the chairs fall simultaneously? And did you notice the strange figure hovering around near the black chair? It still looks humanoid, yet translucent. The capture of the video explains that in the call center where the video was filmed, events like those happen all the time. Looks like it's time to get Ghostbusters in there. Who knows? Maybe the next time you get through to a switchboard, the voice on the other line might not be quite human.